Thank you for talking with us today. Congratulations on your Indiegogo campaign and shattering records and all that stuff. How did that feel when you found out that you had just sort of blown up?
Well, it was great. I mean, we were there with everyone watching. Of course, we had planned. We hadn't planned for that fast a rise, that much interest right away. You have to, when you're doing a campaign. We had planned to put out little videos along the way. When we hit this mark, we're going to put out a new goal video. We only, we had 3, and it was, we'll be fine. And we had already put out all of our goal videos by 11 a.m. So it was a very hectic time and an exciting time because it was the success of it that was making us as hectic as we were.
Does Indiegogo corporate get involved when you pass a certain threshold? Because, I mean, 3 million plus is an insane amount of money for a crowdsourcing campaign.
Yes, they do get involved, and they're, it's a 30-day campaign, and so when we hit our mark, I was like, all right, pull the plug, let's go. And I, oh, no. Well, there's an opportunity here to do more, and they knew that we had planned to do more as far as books and comic books and a game. So we had those there. They had heard about them, and they started, you need to make some more goals, take this opportunity. And so it was by their suggestion that we did. Also, PJ Harzma, who is our other producer, who's more of a businessman, was like, no, let's, I was the guy saying pull the plug. He was saying, no, which turned out to be a very good thing.
So for those who aren't familiar with the, what's the setup here? You and Nathan play actors who co-starred on a show that was popular but canceled, so semi-autobiographical. But what is the arc of the series? Is it episodic? Is it a season-long arc? What's the story here?
What we're going to release is episodic. Well, does episodic mean that they live on their own?
Yeah, like sort of little misadventures as opposed to one,
well, okay, got it.
Continuing problem that they'll continue to face every single episode.
It's a little bit of both. It follows Wray Nerely primarily, or my character, and he, unlike Nathan's character, who's been very successful post Spectrum, was the show that got canceled too soon. It's our Firefly within the show. Ray made some bad career decisions right after the show, and he's still paying for them. He's really become pigeonholed within not just B-movie sci-fi, but also he's did some B-movie horror, and he can't get out from under that classification. There's a better word for it. And I wrote this, so good to know I'm a word. I consider myself a wordsmith, so I'm going to go with classification. And so it follows his frustration with that, and just like any project nowadays with the internet that gets canceled too soon and there's still an audience for it, then there becomes a push for more. And there is a push for a revival, and everybody's into it, but Ray, who feels like it will only push him deeper into this pigeonhole, he wants to do something else, and he's trying to get out of it. So that is the arc of this first batch of series of 10-minute episodes, and hopefully we'll be able to do more. It certainly is we certainly have more stories to tell.
Did the success of that Indiegogo campaign completely change what you initially had planned? Because I think, what were you going for, like 3 episodes to begin with, and then all of a sudden it was like 3 more and 3 more and 3 more?
Yes, we figured that if we could do the first 3, which they work in half-hour chunks, because like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 become each little 10-minute episode. Unto themselves, we figured that if we could get the first 3 out, that would work as a pilot, and people get a real sense of what the show's going to be about. But I had written 4 half hours, so they were ready to go, and we figured if we passed them, we could continue in sets of 3, and we did. And I had 2 other scripts that were just kind of half done. It was like, do we talk about those? But we figured that this was the right amount, because it's about this. It is the size of a movie. It's 2 hours long, and we had a month. We wanted just to shoot for a month, and anything larger than that, it would just be too much to bite off. I think we could bite it off, but we couldn't chew it. That was the problem. And then swallowing would have been difficult, and then there's all the digestion issues, but and all aspects of that. So a movie, and as we shot it, a movie size, and then as we shot it, that's how it was always referred to by the crew and everyone there, that we were making a movie, because it felt like that. Since there's only one director, this crazy guy who was a pain in the ass to work with, but whereas usually in episodic you change directors every half hour, because who would do 4? Mental.
It's your first time directing too, right?
Yeah, I did a couple of 30-second commercials, so I felt prepared. It was, yeah, it was a big undertaking. It was very much jumping into the deep end, but I found that you surround yourself with people, and I had heard this before, surround yourself with people who know what they're doing. And, you know, your DP is very important. Jay Hunter, who had done the Much Ado About Nothing. We really like Joss Whedon. A lot of people who were involved, a lot of the guys who are camera operators were on hiatus from S.H.I.E.L.D., the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So it was all sort of in the world, and they're like, we're not doing anything. Yeah, sure, we'll come on board. It seems like a fun project. So everybody was in it for the good time, and luckily it was. You know, sometimes you sign up for the good time and you get into it and go, what the, this is not what I signed up for. But we did have a really good time, and they said so. It wasn't just me saying, no, you're having a good time, do you hear me? We had a lot of laughs.
Now, Ray, does he go to different conventions, of course, across the course of the season? How are conventions presented? Is it sort of this monolithic thing, or do different conventions have different personalities?
Different conventions have different personalities. One has some cosplay that features some cosplay, so people get a chance to see that. One features, and it's in the trailer with Tricia Helfer, and it was one that I had gone to in Orlando, Florida years ago. It doesn't exist anymore, where half of the convention was a baby doll convention, where all of these women were. I was in the lobby as it's set. It's pretty much set like I experienced it, where there's all these women who were in their 50s and later had babies, and they had them in strollers and cooing, and I was like, what are all these babies? And then somebody walked up with a baby that was this size. Like, oh, gee, what's that about? Oh my gosh, they're dolls. This is dolls. They're all dolls. And they were those dolls that are called newborn or new something. I think it's newborn, and no, it's something else. So anyway, they look like babies. They really do, with the little, the little birthmark that's sort of right after birth that fades, that comes from being birthed only days prior. They're haunting. And I went to I was like, that's crazy, that's so weird. And then I went over to the South Tower, where the convention was, in a tent, which was in the Florida heat, was also its own experience. But and people had action figures, and I was like, well, how is this different? I mean, it's different, but I remember sharing it with Will Wheaton, and he's like, that's just weird. Those dolls are weird. I'm like, but listen, what about the action figures? Different. Very different. You cannot admit there is some kind of similarity there. Nope. So anyway, some of them, that's one con. There's another con that, the guests really change the personality of the cons. There's one where you end up in a comic book store, a grand opening of a comic book store. And so it has a feel of that, it's definitely that world. And then the last 3 episodes is where you really get to see the show and meet the cast and what has happened to them since it was canceled. You'll see little pieces of the show throughout, but you really get a chance to see it in the last 3 episodes.
Have you ever gone through a specific con experience that was just absolutely insane, but you couldn't include in the show that you wanted to?
It's always the ones that are run poorly, the more independent ones. Now it's being, corporate is coming in a big way, and they're nice to go to a lot of times, because they they've mastered it in some ways, whereas the more independent ones are shady. Went to one in Atlanta not too terribly long ago, and a couple of promoters were riding up in the elevator with a box of loose cash. And you're like, well, what the hell is that? That does not look right. That's an interesting business. And like, here's my wallet. I don't know what that is. So there's a lot to pull from, and it's usually a little piece here, a little piece there, a little piece there. You know, it's a very fantastical world. You just walk out on the floor here, and so the boundaries are pushed way out, and you can play within that as a writer, as an actor. You can go very far before you have to pull people back. If there's any pulling back, it's about make this insanity a reality, because we found when it gets too big, it's like, no. It has to be as crazy as it is, whatever you were being asked to do. Make it, invest in it, make it as real as possible.
At any point in the series, does an animation studio approach Ray and say, we want you to voice all of our villains?
No. There is though. Disney. Yeah, I do get to. I play villains, but I also play red herrings. I was the red herring in Frozen, which is like, oh, he's the villain, and then wait, no. And then also in Big Hero 6, I'm like, oh, that's the villain, and then no, it's the other guy. So I'm their red herring.
Have they approached you for Moana or Zootopia?
I don't know that I can say. It's always a question if you can say that. So I guess that's saying it by not saying it, right?
That's fair.
That's fair. So, but with your character, is the autobiographical aspect, is that also for Nathan as well? Is his character, how much does it represent him?
Well, if you'll notice, Nathan isn't here. So Jack Moore is the character he plays, and a lot of times he is impossible to get a hold of. I'll go to meet him, and 2-3 minutes ago he's like, come over, and then you show up and he's gone. Where did he go? He flew his jet to Vegas. What the hell? He's Nathan's coming in from Mexico, and right before he was in Australia, and he goes to award shows where he's giving out awards, and it's so far from my life. It's not that far. I've been to Australia, Mexico, but his is a very fast-paced life and very large. And Jack has that life, his character. And although my character is not frustrated with cons, but it makes for a good conflict. And that's the thing. He's a huge success, which you see that with people at conventions, with guests, where they're this huge person within this world, and they go home to their one-bedroom apartment and they, cut coupons. There are stars here and there are has-beens there. It's a wild dichotomy that we show off here. It's more of, he's not a has-been, but he's one thing. And he doesn't want to be that thing anymore. He used to love it, but it's gotten old, and he's taken it for granted. And that's going to be his lesson along the way, that you can't take that for granted.
I think we have to wrap up with you, but first, where can everybody see Con Man and when?
Right. On Vimeo, it's going to come out in September, so it'll be online. And we're very excited about that, especially since we're going to be in Hall H today to present the trailer, which is this big hall that is usually reserved for massive tentpole projects. And this is the first web-based series that has ever been presented there. So we're flattered and excited about it.
Actually, one last question. You brought up corporate before. Why do this through crowdsourcing and by yourself and not go through a network or something? Because I have a feeling with your following and Nathan's following, people would have jumped on this in a second.
No, they don't. They don't value it. The fans value it. I think if this is successful, then they'll value it. But they taking chances is not their best thing, because when you take a chance and it doesn't work out, you lose your job. So with us, if we take a chance and it doesn't work out, we'll go to cons going, whoops! But I think it's going to be really good. I can't wait to share the trailer today. We're very happy.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for taking
Yes.
the time to speak
Thank
with
you.
us. I really appreciate it.
Congratulations.